you're a true son of Africa. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let me bring in Prof. Ahmed. Prof, tell us where you're joining us from. And glad
Yes,
to have you here.
I'm from Turkey, and I am a professor at Istanbul University, also directing a think tank called Orsam Center for Middle Eastern Studies. And we are living the same problem in the Middle East, where you have, colonial legacy divided the region. Now we are also suffering from conflicts, sectarian, ethnic, and all this. And there is the agenda or the kind of a colonial plan to pit one against the other group. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Would be sometimes ideological, as if it is in Tunisia. It is the same nation, but the tension is ideological. In Iraq, you have sectarian. In other places, you have ethnic conflicts. But it is the design that keeps us weak. So I see there is a close connection. I am a sociologist also myself. Studied in America, also master and PhD on social movements and social change. There is a direct connection between democracy, development, and independence, and they are mutually interdependent. And when you get democracy and people decide for their own fate, they work to develop themselves, and this brings also, it is like mutual. It brings independence, also needs independence. So and why, and especially in Syrian crisis, we have seen that the West closed a blind eye to the Syrian case, where Russians destroyed the Syrian people's ambitions, and they also became refugees, etc. But when it comes to democracy, the big powers, they agree on the lack of democracy. So they don't leave the decision to Syrian people. Somebody else comes and decides for them. Similarly in Africa, and we see this backlash or sliding back in Africa also. Actually, the African Union was very prominent in rejecting all the military coups, but now I think they cannot keep up with the number of coups happening, and also this is not the way it should be. This happened also after the Second World War, when African nations gain independence, but they have a military or dictatorship. They do not leave the decision to African people, and this kept them weaker. So in Turkey also we experienced similar thing, and in almost like every 10 years there was a military coup, but slowly we Turkish nation became more independent, and I think it is related to your discussion also, as much as I was hearing that the civic participation, people's decision to they are pitting one group against the other, but when people say we don't want to fight with each other, we have more bigger issues, and these fightings and these conflicts and controversies and lack of unity, and generally the big powers, they prefer not to be tired, not to pay too much effort. They want the other groups make each other very tired, so they do small touches to design the political and economic field. So it is important to have this civic mind, civil mind also, not trust these, in Turkish we say appointed leaders rather than elected. So when it is appointed, it has to be loyal to somewhere or have to pay back to those who support them to come to power. And at the end, even though like Abdel Nasser in Egypt, he made a coup, he had the good intention to make Arab unity and develop, etc. But because he did not choose to depend on people, on democracy, he had a chance, but he didn't use it. Then at the end, it go weaker, and it deviate from the main course and then main road, I mean. And it failed at the end against Israel, against other powers, etc. But I mean, it's necessary to have the democracy inside, democratic institutions, separation of powers. Not necessarily, we sometimes confuse with strong leader, which is democratic, and weak leader, maybe, which is he has ambitions to destroy others, but he cannot. So it is, I think, like in Turkey, having a strong leader with democratically elected way is more preferable, especially in this chaotic arena. And you have, so much controversies, maybe you need to move forward. And it is generally the opposite in other chaotic places. You don't have a major group or a majority to decide. So we have an interesting also experience, but we experience all these terror, which is supported by generally big powers, terror and coup attempts, actual coups also in the 80s, in the 60s, and very often. So this is the game, or this is the scheme that they are repeating. Sometime you had also in the 80s we had political assassinations that shocked people and caused a big worry and headache, etc. So it's multidimensional, but they don't like to have the nation, decide for themselves. Let's say Nigerians decide for Nigeria, Tunisians decide for Tunisia. They always intermingle. Sometimes doesn't matter if it is French or America or Russia or China. They have similar, intentions, and we have to be aware, and we have to also build the trust among ourselves. They want us to fight like in Yemen or in Libya, but if we don't want to fight, their project is going down. So this is the take I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.